Where were you on 9/11? It's a question so many of us have repeated over the past 2 decades. It's a way we relate to one another as we reflect on the day of one of the most horrific attacks on the American people in U.S. history. September 11th, 2001. For the nerds of foreign wars, we join the rest of the country this Monday in remembering and honoring the lives of so many who were tragically taken from us during the events that took place in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, 22 years ago. Every generation seems to have their one day in history that impacted them. Tragic events like the attack on Pearl Harbor and the assassinations of the President JFK and Dr. Martin Luther King were mournful memories that were stitched into everyone's mind at that time. If we were alive then, we remember for the most part where we were, what we were doing, and how we heard the news. However, the attacks of September 11th, 2001 were unlike anything ever seen before, because for the first time in history, death and destruction on a massive scale was actually televised and updated in real time. I don't think people understand that last sentence. However, the attacks on September 11th, 2001 were unlike anything ever seen before, because for the first time in history, death and destruction on a massive scale was actually televised and updated in real time. We saw everything. We literally saw people lose their lives in a blink of an eye. I would say we witnessed about 90% of what happened. But let's continue. It was at 8:46 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on that Tuesday morning when the first plane, American Airline Flight 11, hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. Now, at that time, I'll continue. The second plane, United Airline Flight 175, struck the South Tower of the World Trade Center at 9:03. So the first attack was at 8:46. The second plane hit the second tower at 9:03. News anchor announced that planes were being hijacked and used as guided missiles. The nation was under attack. 34 minutes later, at 9:37, American Airline Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon, collapsing part of the building. First attack, 8:46. Second attack, 9:03. Pennsylvania. At 10:28, the other tower, the North Tower, actually collapses. In just 102 minutes, 19 hijackers would succeed in taking the lives of, I'm gonna round this to actually 3,000. It says 2,977, but I do believe there's still missing people that we haven't really found. But 19 hijackers would succeed in taking the lives of almost 3,000 Americans and terrorizing the entire country, with the entire world watching. No one understands that, I'm telling you. Yet, in the midst of this unimaginable tragedy, stories of unbelievable heroism was being reported from every location. Firefighters and law enforcement officers running into the burning World Trade Center building, rescuing hundreds of people. Service members leading others through the burning, smelling Pentagon to safety. Passengers, listen up. Passengers of Flight 93 who decided to fight back against hijackers to prevent them from getting to their intended target. The selfless sacrifice would come to define that day as much, if not more, than the attacks themselves. So for those who actually had no clue what 9/11 was about, there you go. This video is actually my story time and what I went through during the World Trade Center, what I was doing, all of it, the panic. So let's start off by the first plane hitting. Now, I remember I actually had surgery and I came home the night before. And so at this time I had Javon, my oldest nephew, and my mom was helping me out during the surgery. So I remember as clear as day, my oldest nephew was eating breakfast. My mother was doing dishes, and I was laying on the couch. Again, just came home from having my appendix out. And I don't remember, I'll be honest, most likely though. I don't know, I want to say the Maury show. I'm not sure what I was watching, but I remember that everything was interrupted. Everything. I mean, no matter what channel you turned on, they were covering the World Trade Center in New York City. So at first, like it says, at 8:46 in the morning, the first plane, American Airline Flight 11, hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. Now, as this is being televised, right, I don't think no one, my mother, me, even the people that were covering the news coverage, at that particular time, I don't think anyone thought we were under attack. I think at that prompt moment, it was something like, the plane was way too low, or maybe something happened with the pilot, or maybe the pilot was drinking or something. No one ever thought that it was, or that we were under attack. I don't think anyone thought that yet. It was just like, damn, how they get so low. And because in the city we have JFK Airport, we have LaGuardia. I don't know my GPS in the sky, but we also have like Newark Airport, which is in New Jersey. But you get my point, right? It's like we see airplanes all the time. So in that moment, again, I think we just thought the pilot was fucked up, if I'm being honest, right? It wasn't until, right? So again, like I said, we are watching the building on fire. People are questioning the pilot. People want questions and answers from American Airlines. It wasn't until, because like I said, everything was interrupted. It wasn't until that second plane, United Air Flight 175, struck the South Tower of the World Trade Center at 9:03. So again, the first plane hit at 8:46. The World Trade Center had two towers. One of the tallest buildings in New York, two towers. So at 8:46, a plane hit one tower. And then at 9:03, you can do the math, the airplane hit the second tower. Now, what's amazing is many people probably did not see the first plane actually hit. Because like I said, nobody was thinking about what it was. But now that that was interrupted, the entire world, well, the United States anyway, we actually watched, like we watched the plane coming to the second tower. And as we're watching this plane, just think about it, there is nothing no one can do about it. Because like I said, the first plane, no one even thought of what it was. Even if they knew it was hijacked at 8:46, I don't know if see, we weren't prepared for stuff like this, and I don't know who are the ones that go in the air and shoot down people. Is that the Navy? No, they're water. You get the point. I don't know if they would have gotten there on time in order to actually shoot that plane out the air. I don't know. But from 8:46 to 9:03, when we all, as one, we all watched the second plane actually crash into the second tower of the World Trade Center. And when I say I was in complete shock, now, straight fear set into me, because when the first plane hit the tower, right, my mother probably left like maybe 7 minutes after that, because my oldest nephew had to go to school, so she was dropping him off, and I remember when the second plane hit, of course she heard it over the radio. But see, here's the thing, my sister lived in New York City back then, in Manhattan, and she worked out in the city. And at that time, she was working at, well, y'all need to know all that. But she was out there in New York City. And every single morning, she would get up early enough to go to the World Trade Center to get breakfast and to do some shopping. See, the schedule that she had for the bus she had to take, it was early and she had so much time to burn. So she would always go to the World Trade Center for breakfast, shopping, whatever. And so I do have to admit, I never knew if it was like the first tower or the second tower that she actually ate breakfast at. I don't know, but I do know she always stopped there every single morning, and then she would always stop there before she went home, whether it was for, because here's the thing, the World Trade Center was known for a whole lot. Like, they chose the World Trade Center for a reason, and this is not the first time that they tried this. I think the first time they tried to take down the World Trade Center was in 1993 or 92. Don't quote me, but they put Let's just say that. And so, when the second plane hit, my heart actually sank because I don't think my mother was putting two and two together. And like I said, she left before the second plane hit the tower. As she got back out, that's when straight panic actually like set in with her. She was like, wait a minute, isn't that where, your sister goes for breakfast and stuff? And I was like, yeah. And at that time too, I had a best friend as a male, and we actually worked at the Wiz together, and then we actually worked at Verizon Wireless together. And but like I said, I was out for my appendix. So when my mother came back in, she heard over the news about the second tower. And then my best friend at the time, he was freaking out because his sister actually worked at the World Trade Center as well. And they have not been on good terms. They were arguing, with the FUs, and I hope you die, blah, 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 blah. And they actually had a fight that morning. And unfortunately, she was one of the victims in one of the buildings. Once my mother came in and put two and two together, we tried frantically calling my sister, but everything in New York City at that time was completely down. You weren't calling nobody, no landlines, no cell phones, like none of that stuff was working. It was actually a mess, but the good thing about it, just to get her out the way, my sister actually called us, and for some strange reason, for 2.5 years straight, she got up the same time and went for breakfast and everything at the World Trade Center. For some strange reason, she was sick that morning and was running late, and she was actually contemplating if she was gonna call out or not. But the time that she figured it out, she was gonna take a cab. But by then, everything in New York City was a mess. So now my mom is back, and I'm still on the couch, and I'm still in amazement on what we are watching, right? So like I said, the second plane hit at 9:03, so people were panicking about that, and they had like the headlines, the nation was under attack, and then it was just a mess. Like every channel, every radio station, people were crying. It was just a mess. Because see, here's the thing, although it happened in New York, there's people all over the world who have loved ones in New York that were affected by this. It just wasn't New Yorkers or the US, I'm assuming. So then after we're like, oh my god, we're under attack, then 34 minutes later at 9:37, so again, 8:46, 9:03, now we're at 9:37. American Airline Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon, collapsing part of Bunch was, because I'm pretty sure by now you know who they were, are, we do know that President Obama actually was the one who found the man who actually, do this plot. But for YouTube purposes and guidelines, we're just gonna leave that shit alone. But, yeah, they crashed into Pentagon. So it was like the TV screen was flipping back and forth because remember, although the plane crashed into the World Trade Center, them bitches were on fire, okay? No one was breathing in New York City, like at all, at that prompt moment. And then, like I said, they're going back and forth from the World Trade Center to the Pentagon. But this is when shit got real. At 9:59, the burning of the South Tower. Now, remember, the South Tower was the second building that was hit, right? So I think it definitely had to do with the location of where that second plane hit the South Tower, because that wasn't the first one to go. The burning of the World Trade Center South Tower collapses. I don't know, but has anyone actually ever watched a building crumble? Like the way it just fell, knowing there were thousands of people in that building. But it gets worse. So now the cameraman, now we're back to the World Trade Center collapsing, crumbling. But then 4 minutes later at 10:03, United Airline Flight 93 crashes into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So by now, all these attacks started at 8:46. Somehow or another, on that flight, United Airline Flight 93, everyone on that flight understood their assignment. Somehow, whether it was the news or whatever, they knew what was going on. And somehow or another, I don't know how, that they knew that their airplane was also being hijacked, because a lot of them actually was able to call home before they crashed this plane. So, like I said, somehow or another, they were able to call, and loved ones were giving play by play what was going on. And it was apparent as humans, as one airline, United Airline Flight 93, they weren't going down like any type of bitches whatsoever. They were like, okay, so you done crashed into the Pentagon, you done fucked up the World Trade Center. See, what you're not gonna do is actually take this plane and crash it into your intended target. I'm not gonna get into the intended target, but as a whole, some passengers got up, baby, and they fought, and actually they fought so hard that they actually crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So the hijackers never even made it to their intended target with that plane. The passengers was not having it. They understood the assignment very well. They figured out what the fuck was going on, and they were like, oh no baby, not on my time, you're not, and took that plane down. But unfortunately, at 10:28, the North Tower, that was the first tower that got hit, also collapsed. In just 102 minutes, 19 hijackers would succeed in taking the lives of 2,977. I'm just gonna say 3,000, because at the end of the day, I don't think that number is accurate. Why? Well, see, here's the thing. After we watched, right, that last World Trade Center crumble in front of our eyes, before I can even, why this day bothers me so much and why I will never turn on the television during 9/11, like ever. It's because there are certain scenes that I am trying to erase from my mind, and one of them was people actually jumping out windows in fear that like another plane would hit, in fear that they would never get rescued. Some of them jumped out the window because they were on fire. There was nothing they can do, especially after like when the first tower collapsed. The second tower is now in complete panic, you know. So I will never forget people smashing out windows just to inform people that there were people still alive, you know. But just I wish I could erase it from my mind. I think for me it was the people jumping the fuck out the windows for me, from like high above, from like I don't even wanna some of the screams that we heard from footages from other people, and then of course like this one, I just never forget this one man that I actually witnessed jump out the window, and he was on fucking fire. Like people were actually trying to use what they can, you know, in the offices, whether it was coats, jackets, to climb out. Like of course they didn't succeed either. It was just straight panic and hell, and all we can do from our homes is just watch, you know. And then we have to remember the people, like people on the street, police officers, firefighters who actually ran in to help, who did save hundreds of people. But then we have to remember it collapsed. Like once the first tower collapsed, like I said, the debris, the fire, there was like New York City was completely black. And then when the second tower fell, forget it. There was no driving, there was no nothing. The air quality out here was so bad. Like, I know I've joked about like Canada's wildfire and affecting our air and stuff like that, but if you went around for 9/11, you have no idea what our skies look like. You have no, like, when it happened, I live further up north now than where I was when this happened. I mean, all you did was smell burning stuff, and the closer you got to the city, the smell shifted. You know, at one point they were shutting down the bridges. The only people that were allowed across the GW or anyway into the city were important people, firefighters, police, detectives, all of that stuff, people to collect DNA, all of it. So like traffic was outrageous, right? But it's like when you cross the GW bridge, the George Washington bridge, right, you can like see the city, right? There's so many overlooks out there. It's just a pretty sight to see. Not during 9/11, it wasn't. It was so bad, the debris, and like I said, the smell. I cannot, because at one point, after a while, they were letting people in, and because my best friend as a male at the time was looking for his sister, he was allowed in with one person, and I just will never forget the smell. It was horrific, and it just wasn't like a campfire smell, like burning smell. Remember, thousands of people lost their life, so it was like burnt flesh smell. It was nauseating. It was not healthy. Anyone covering the news coverage in actual New York City, like the crumbling of the towers, how people were running into stores. It was just like an earthquake full of just debris. Just elevators lost their life once, the towers collapsed. But here's the kicker, right? My best friend who lost his sister, she was actually in the second tower. So when the first plane hit, of course, like I said, no one knew what was going on. And she actually called home asking, like, did we have any information on what's going on? And, people in the second tower were trying to figure out, well, maybe we should leave. Nobody knew, like I said, what was going on for the first attack, right? When the second plane hit the second tower, which is where his sister was, they were trying to I guess they were all trying to leave the building, and because by now word has spread, and a lot of people got stuck in the stairwell when the building collapsed, because that's exactly what happened to my friend's sister. The last thing she was telling everybody is that they were evacuating and that they were taking the stairwell because, of course, the elevators either weren't working or wasn't a good idea. And I will never forget that she was on the stairwell and she said that she was on the 76th floor, and they were all in single file as fast as they can trying to get down, and 30 seconds later the building collapsed, and we never heard anything ever again from her, ever. A lot of people who are missing people had to go down and identify stuff. Like, it's sad, and it's, but whether it was identifying someone's ear, a finger, flesh, like, it took so many years to really gather how many people actually died. But I'm telling you, like, the people who risked their lives that day to save people that they did not know, like, as New Yorkers, I'm gonna say, I've never seen a bunch of strangers come together the way we all did in New York during those attacks. Now, there were lives lost at the Pentagon. Let me see if we can see how many people died then. Like I said, a lot of more people died during the World Trade Center. And also remember too, like, when the building collapsed, there was ordinary people walking on the street. So it just wasn't people who worked in the building, it was people who were around it, and the firefighters. And then there were people who were actually buried under the debris of the buildings, and some of them were trying to call out to either they died or their signal or their battery died. It was just too much to go through. Just tragic. Like I said, God was looking out for my sister that day from not going. But even like her husband at the time, he freaked out, and they weren't letting anybody cross the bridge. That man actually parked his car and he ran almost probably 150 blocks just to check on my sister, because shit was getting real. I will never forget how dark our sky was, just black, just smoke. It took years. I think my friend finally got his answer, like, maybe 2-3 years after the 9/11. I mean, of course, by then she never came over and called. We kind of got her answer, but just the search for her was so stressful and depressing. My mom went back to work early. They were pulling people to come work at the hospitals. They were using, like, my sister worked where she worked. It wasn't exactly like a regular hospital, but damn it, they had to make it into a regular hospital. Everyone had to chip in. There were so many people helping, looking for loved ones. It just, for a country not to be prepared for something like this, I think we did the best just donation, people wanting to help. But it's sad because those like firefighters who survived, they might have survived that day, but between the PTSD and a lot of them are coming down with so many different types of cancer, all type of respiratory, lungs, and that's just from like, breathing in that stuff. I do remember the guy I was talking to at the time. His father also worked down at the World Trade Center, and that was straight panic because, like I said, nobody was getting through to no phone lines, nothing. I'm not even sure how my sister was able to call out, but it took him like 2 days to find his father because even though he was okay, no one was able to leave or come out or whatever. I remember my oldest nephew coming in and like just having no clue what was going on. Half the world was mourning, crying, but again, I think the true heroes was on Flight 93 who decided to fight back against the hijacker to prevent them from getting to their intended target. Again, nobody gave a fuck where their intended target was, but see, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring you down like right here, right now. Truth be told, I don't know if their intended target was actually Washington D.C., the White House itself. I don't think anyone really knows, but like the selfless sacrifice that some people did, strangers running into the burning buildings, it's crazy. And then at one point it was a lot for us New Yorkers that at one point, I don't know if they're still doing it now, but any movie that had the World Trade Center up had to be removed. At one point you couldn't find, no matter what movie it was, whether you thought you saw the World Trade Center or not, they had to be removed from all movies, edited out, whatever you want to call it. They haven't like, I don't think they rebuilt it, but there is like a museum of people's artifacts and stuff, and the firefighters and policemen that we lost. Every September 11th, they go through all the names in alphabetical order if you're interested, of everyone who we lost, all firefighters we lost, police officers we lost, and like I said, a lot of people are dying now from the crap that they were inhaling or they endured during 9/11. I do always check for my friend's sister, but like 9/11 for me is just so overwhelming because like they still haven't toned it down, and it's been 22 years ago, and they're still showing like, I don't know, it's just a horrible reminder of that night. And they always do the names in the morning and it's long, but I get it though, it just was a fucked up moment. I can't say it any better way. It was the saddest thing, and New York was so affected for so many years after the fact. Yeah, and it just goes to show that, like, it just says that our world looks much different today than from 9/11. There is a museum. I do believe they do the lighting every 9/11. I don't know if they still do it now. I don't know if it's the same color as they used to, but they used to have like these lights that came up when they did the ceremony, and at night, just sad. And we also can't forget about the people on the innocent people died on those planes, you know. But I do have to say though that like after 9/11, especially like watching like the Mayday disasters or whatever, a lot has changed to the point that many can't get into the cockpit anymore. There have been test runs with trying to put certain devices in your shoes. That's why now at the airports we now have to take off our shoes and stuff like that. It's because of 9/11. So although 9/11 had a lot of tragedies with it, a lot of loss, a lot of tears, like to this day I can't believe I actually was witnessing people jumping out of a fucking building burning. I can't believe I actually watched a whole plane full of people just smash into the World Trade Center and they had nothing to do with it. It's like I physically watched people get murdered on TV, and I don't, like I said, we've heard about assassinations, through word of mouth, whatever, but to actually see it live, that was on a whole different, yeah. So that's it. I just kind of wanted to share a little about 9/11. Nobody worries. The Princess Diana, I'm working on it right now as we speak. That will be the next video dropped, I think. But it definitely will be dropped by this week sometime, most likely Sunday. Today is Monday, September 11th. So Princess Diana's video most likely will be dropped by Sunday, because I think what I'm going to do is, since the poll won one long video, I am gonna do one long video, but I think I'm gonna do that one long video in parts, and that's what I'm having trouble with right now. I think the 3 parts I want to do is like how she met him and their marriage life, right? And the straight hell that she endured. And then I want to go into like her divorce, to how the royal family stripped her, how she moved on with lovers, and then the death of her. And then it's just really important for me to go into the conspiracy theories and to give my whole opinion, which some people don't want me to do because it might be too raw, but at this point I don't think I give a fuck, because it's a conspiracy theory and goddamn it, it's my opinion. And so all I'm gonna say is that royal family, they have secrets after secrets on top of their secrets, and then their secrets have secrets. So it's like, and just like little things I'm finding out, and I don't know, my mouth might get me into trouble with that video, but I don't think I care. So that's what I'm struggling with the Princess Diana, how to actually break this down. But as always, I will figure it out. But yeah, that's it for this video. Just think of, when you think of 9/11, think of all the people, or the heroes, or the people who took the other plane down to our firefighters, police, regular people off the street trying to help one another. Like I said, I have stopped watching TV on 9/11, but if you never really witnessed it, I just glance today and just see what I'm talking about. Just see how we came together as a nation, I should say. I don't know. All in all, I love you guys for watching.